Some love stories don't end. They remain buried. In the world of R&B, where image is currency and rumors are weapons, some relationships are forced into the shadows, not because they lack courage, but because the truth can wipe everything out overnight. Tonight, we'll revisit 25 whispered love affairs, stories passed down through backstage corridors, memoirs, and silent confessions, each steeped in risk, silence, and regret. If you're ready to explore the side of fame they never showed on stage, hit the subscribe button for Black Icons Uncovered now and let me know during the video, which secret hurt you the most? Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. An 8-year same-sex romance hidden in the shadows. Sammy Davis Jr. stood among the 20th century's most electrifying entertainers. A singer, dancer, actor, and core member of the Rat Pack. He was a force of nature in Hollywood, shattering racial barriers with fearless charm and dazzling audacity. Yet behind the spotlight and applause, he carried a secret he protected almost his entire life. In 1955, inside a smoky Las Vegas jazz club, Sammy met Julian Carter, a striking, distant saxophonist with a soulful edge. Julian didn't just play music. He breathed it, bled it, lived inside every note. What began as shared rhythm and late-night jam sessions slowly deepened into something unspoken, something neither man dared name. As Black artists navigating a prejudiced industry, they found refuge in each other. Rehearsals stretched until sunrise, creating unreleased melodies heavy with emotions they could never confess aloud. But as Sammy's fame soared, their love was pushed further into darkness. Hollywood showed no mercy toward whispers of homosexuality. The press circled, fans watched, expectations pressed in from both Black and white communities. In 1958, Sammy married Lorraine White, then later Mae Britt. Meanwhile, he and Julian survived on stolen moments. Rented apartments in New York and Los Angeles, disguises, switched cars, fake names on hotel ledgers. In 1959, a reporter began digging. Sammy was warned. Julian quietly left the band and moved to Chicago. What remained were coded phone calls and unsigned letters. Fame, faith, family, and fear slowly suffocated what they had built. By 1963, Sammy chose the life the world demanded. Julian disappeared from the spotlight, carrying heartbreak in silence. Sammy never publicly spoke of the man who had once been his world during those forbidden years. Their story would only surface later, hidden between the lines of his memoir Yes, I Can, and remembered through the quiet testimony of a former bandmate, Bessie Smith. Bessie Smith. For 11 years, a shocking same-sex love burned in secret behind the curtain. She wasn't just the Empress of the Blues. She was the highest-paid recording artist of the 1920s, a trailblazer who lifted Black women's voices in a white-dominated, prejudiced industry. Her thunderous voice and fearless swagger made her a living symbol of power and rebellion. But beyond the glare of stage lights lived a story the world never heard, a love hidden for more than a decade. In 1926, during a Harlem show, Bessie met Clara Beaumont, a quiet, magnetic dancer with fire beneath her calm. Hired for Bessie's act, Clara began with whispered backstage conversations that soon deepened into something undeniable, something no one could ever know. In an era of brutal racism and harsh taboos against same-sex love, their bond was a dangerous risk. Bessie was married to Jack G., volatile and controlling, a man who struck at anything he couldn't control. So Bessie and Clara carved out stolen moments, small hotel rooms in Chicago and Atlanta, a hidden apartment in Philadelphia. They passed letters as co-performers, wrote songs together, rehearsed dances at midnight, laughing and crying over a future that offered them no refuge. To stay near Bessie, Clara posed as a stage assistant. The disguise worked until 1930, when Jack burst into a Memphis hotel, nearly catching them. Clara escaped through a rain-soaked window, vanishing into the night. Touring strains and constant fear wore them down. Once, they went 3 months without seeing each other, only to reunite in a rented Kansas City room, arguing through tears. They loved with wildfire intensity, but never dared hold hands in daylight. Then in 1937, a car crash took Bessie's life. Clara stood silent in a hospital corner, slipped quietly into the funeral, and mourned alone in the apartment they once shared. Their love remained hidden until years later, when an aging dancer, Clara's former colleague, finally revealed the truth to biographer Chris Albertson for his book Bessie. Laverne Baker. Laverne Baker. For nearly a decade, she guarded a secret romance with a music producer. Crowned one of America's first R&B queens, her fiery voice and commanding presence lit up Atlantic records with hits like Tweedledee and Jim Dandy. Yet behind the spotlight, she carried a love she would take to her grave. It began in 1954 inside Atlantic's New York studio, when a young black producer, Reggie Holt, worked with her on Tweedledee. Long nights at the mixing board turned electric, and the music between them became something deeper. They bonded over their passion for R&B and their shared anger at an industry that profited from black artists while holding them back. Studio sessions slipped into secret dinners in tucked-away Harlem cafes, hiding from curious eyes. They escaped to a small New Jersey cottage where Reggie cooked Creole meals and Laverne sang beside an old piano. But their love could never step into daylight. Laverne was married to comedian Slappy White, a respected name in black entertainment. Exposure threatened to shatter reputations and careers. Reggie feared Atlantic's retaliation. Laverne had to protect her image as the reigning R&B queen. They loved quietly, trading engraved bracelets instead of headlines. For years, the secrecy held. Then, in 1957, suspicion stirred at home. A confrontation forced Laverne to cut ties with Reggie for months to silence the rumors. In 1960, a studio technician caught them in an embrace, disaster hovering close. Reggie played it off as rehearsal guidance. Laverne nearly wiped the tape in panic. By 1962, her career had gone global. They parted without bitterness, just a few fading calls between colleagues. Reggie Holt, who loved her enough to live in the shadows for 8 years, told their story only once. Sam Cooke, a 6-year secret affair, and a silver pen engraved with her name, carried with him until his final breath. An irreplaceable soul icon, Sam Cooke mesmerized the world with his velvet voice, movie star looks, and timeless hits like You Send Me and A Change Is Gonna Come. He wasn't just the prince of R&B, he was a symbol of dignity and defiance during the civil rights movement. But behind the spotlight and applause, a hidden love story quietly unfolded. It began in 1958 at a recording session in Los Angeles. Evelyn Rose, a young gospel backup singer, joined the choir for You Send Me. She never imagined she would fall for the man whose records she admired. Yet Sam noticed her immediately. Her pure tone, her shy smile, the innocence in her eyes. What started as glances turned into something neither of them could deny. Their love survived in shadows, small roadside motels, whispered conversations on tour buses, stolen midnights in Detroit and New Orleans, even quiet walks along deserted Los Angeles beaches. But there was one devastating truth. Sam was married to Barbara Campbell. His public image, the devoted husband, the polished gentleman, the rising black leader, could not crack. Evelyn risked everything too. The gospel community would never forgive an affair. They could never be seen together, never claim each other. Yet what they shared was real. Sam poured his heart into an unreleased song titled Starlit Soul, inspired by Evelyn. In return, she gave him a silver pen engraved with her name. A simple token he kept close, always. By 1960, choir members began whispering. Rumors circled. They disguised rendezvous as work trips. Then Barbara discovered a love letter tucked inside Sam's suitcase. The confrontation was explosive. Cornered, Sam denied everything, publicly erasing Evelyn to protect the life he had built. In 1964, tragedy shattered everything. Sam Cooke was shot and killed under mysterious circumstances, ending a musical legend and sealing their 6-year secret in silence. A fellow singer later claimed that when Sam fell, the engraved silver pen was still in his pocket. Their hidden romance resurfaced decades later in Daniel Wolfe's You Send Me, The Life and Times of Sam Cooke, 1995, and in accounts from studio insiders, proof that even legends carry private loves the world was never meant to see. Ray Charles. For nearly a decade, he carried on a secret romance with a brilliant female pianist. Ray Charles, a living R&B legend, turned the piano into an emotional weapon, even though he'd been blind since childhood. With timeless hits like Hit the Road Jack, Georgia on My Mind, and What Did I Say, he rose to glory and reshaped American music forever. But behind the spotlight, he was hiding a love story few ever knew. In 1956, during a smoky New Orleans gig, a young black pianist named Mara Jenkins joined Ray's touring band. She didn't just play beautifully. She understood his music on an almost supernatural level. Together they wrote songs, rehearsed deep into the night in Chicago, Atlanta, New York. Somewhere between melodies and midnight trains, they fell in love. But theirs was a love with no safe place to exist. Ray had been married to Della Beatrice since 1955. A scandal could have destroyed Mara's career before it ever truly began. So they lived in the shadows, meeting in small hotel rooms and rented apartments while on tour. Every rendezvous felt stolen, racing against time and exposure. Ray once gave her a pearl necklace. They escaped whenever they could to a quiet lakeside cottage in Georgia. Ray would play, Mara would sing, and for a few fragile hours, they dreamed of a life they both knew they could never claim. In 1959, that fragile dream nearly shattered. A band manager grew suspicious and threatened to expose them. They separated publicly, relying on coded letters to arrange secret meetings. Then, in 1962, everything almost unraveled. Ray's wife confronted them in a hotel lobby. Mara, heart-pounding, pretended to be a receptionist. After that terrifying moment, their real meetings faded into distance. By 1965, Ray turned his focus back to his family as his career soared even higher. Mara quietly disappeared, reportedly accepting a payout to step away for good. Old bandmates would later whisper that the pearl necklace remained tucked inside Mara's music box, a silent, shimmering proof of a love that burned brightly, but was never meant to last. Nina Simone, a secret love affair with a civil rights warrior at the height of danger. She wasn't just a music legend. She was the sound of a generation demanding justice. Her voice, raw, thunderous, aching, ripped through the 1960s. She turned jazz, blues, and R&B into weapons of resistance. But while the world watched her burn on stage, Nina was living a hidden, reckless romance that smoldered for nearly a decade. It began in 1962 at a protest in Birmingham. Nina performed for thousands of black marchers braving tear gas and police batons. That's where she met Marcus Delaney, a young, relentless activist who moved like a storm. Backstage, their eyes locked, and neither looked away. But Nina was trapped in a controlling marriage to her manager. Marcus was a marked man, hunted by the FBI and white supremacist groups. Going public would have destroyed them both, so they disappeared into the shadows. They met in movement-safe houses in Atlanta and Harlem, in anonymous southern rooms with the curtains drawn tight. After nights with Marcus, Nina would sit at the piano and write. Mississippi Goddamn wasn't just political fire. It carried the cry of a woman loving a forbidden revolutionary. She once gave him a watch engraved for Meyer, a private promise in a dangerous world. By 1965, her husband grew suspicious. He hired private trackers. Nina and Marcus fled like fugitives, nearly captured when police raided a Tennessee motel. Marcus vanished for months to survive. All they had were brief pay phone calls, voices trembling across state lines. By 1970, the pressure shattered her. Nina fled to Europe. Marcus stayed behind. For years, no one spoke his name. Their love would only surface later, whispered in her biography and revealed in the documentary What Happened. Miss Simone, Jackie Wilson. R&B's Mr. Excitement set stages on fire, wild dance moves, explosive vocals, a dazzling force who bridged black and white audiences at the height of segregation. But behind the spotlight, Jackie carried a secret that lasted nearly a decade. Her name was Dolores Carter, a quiet bank clerk with a fierce love for music. They met in 1957 after a blazing show in Detroit. Dolores, just another devoted fan, slipped backstage for an autograph. A quick exchange about R&B turned into something neither expected. Soon it was hidden coffees in Detroit cafes, then discreet hotel rooms in Chicago and Cleveland while Jackie toured. It had to stay quiet. Jackie was married to Frida Hood, and scandal could have torched his rising career. Dolores avoided family whispers and the press, guarding their secret with care. What began as a spark grew tender. They rented a small house in a Detroit suburb where Jackie cooked dinner and listened as Dolores shared stories from her ordinary days. Moments that grounded him. She gave him a green silk tie he kept in his suitcase, wearing it only for major performances, a silent symbol of a love no one knew. In 1960, a friend of Frida's saw them holding hands in a diner. After that, they stopped meeting face-to-face, turning to letters instead. Then in 1964, when another jealous woman shot Jackie, Dolores realized she was only one of many hidden chapters in his life. Eventually, Jackie chose his career and family. The affair faded, leaving Dolores with memories both sweet and bitter. The story surfaced after his death, revealed in Jackie Wilson. The man, the music, the mob, and through fan accounts, stunning many who thought they knew Mr. Excitement. Etta James, R&B and blues royalty, set the world on fire with a voice that could wound and heal in the same breath. An icon of raw power and deep contradiction, she lived between glory and chaos, fame and secrets. One of those secrets was a nearly decade-long affair with Leroy Blues Thompson, the gifted guitarist in her touring band. It began in 1965 at a Chicago gig, when Leroy joined her lineup. The chemistry was instant, first in rehearsal, then in stolen glances, then in late-night sessions that drifted from music into motel rooms from Los Angeles to Memphis. Every tour became a dance around suspicion. Going public was impossible. Etta's relationships were already tangled, and the spotlight was unforgiving. By 1963, whispers inside the band forced them into coded studio notes and distant cities. Etta's battle with addiction broke Leroy's heart. He tried to help her through quiet rehab attempts, but the grip was strong. In 1969, she married artist Mills in a union shaped by the industry. The affair seemed finished. A year later, it reignited, intense, reckless, undeniable. But exposure would have detonated everything. Her Queen of Blues image, his place in the band, the fragile empire around her. In 1972, they let each other go, leaving behind regret, longing, and a love story buried beneath legend. A bitter, beautiful chapter in the storm that was Etta James, where love and blues were never far apart. Marvin Gaye, an 8-year storm with a Motown backup singer. Marvin Gaye, R&B and soul royalty, was Motown's golden voice, delivering timeless hits to the world. But behind the spotlight burned a nearly decade-long secret romance with Tanya Brooks, a gifted Motown backup singer who toured by his side. In 1965, inside Motown's Detroit studio, Tanya lent her voice to I Heard It Through the Grapevine. The music sparked something deeper. One glance turned electric. Desire ignited, but so did danger. Marvin was married to Anna Gordy, the label boss's sister. One scandal could destroy him and erase Tanya overnight in Motown's ruthless machine. So their love smoldered in shadows. They escaped to a quiet house along the California coast, where Marvin played piano, Tanya sang, and candlelight hid what the world could never see. She gave him a silk scarf stitched with their initials. That scarf nearly exposed everything. In 1968, Berry Gordy found it tucked inside Marvin's notebook. Interrogations followed. Marvin denied it all. The pressure drove him deeper into addiction, torn between Anna, the label, and the woman he truly loved. Tanya tried to save him, but love under fire turns volatile. By 1973, amid divorce and the rise of Let's Get It On, their affair collapsed in heartbreak. Marvin tried to bury the truth, but a divided soul always sings eventually. Eddie Kendricks. At the height of the Temptations' glory, Eddie Kendricks, owner of the most heavenly falsetto in R&B, was living a love story no one was meant to hear. In 1967, during a Detroit interview for Soul magazine, respected journalist Sandra Miles met the man behind the voice. One conversation was all it took. Eddie's tone didn't just fill the room, it found her. What followed were stolen afternoons in quiet Chicago cafes and whispered nights in hotel rooms along his tour route. But love like theirs came with a cost. Eddie was married. The Temptations' polished image for conservative fans couldn't survive scandal. Sandra risked her credibility, her bylines, her future. So they moved in shadows, careful, cautious, burning anyway. This wasn't tabloid drama. It was intimate, electric, real. They hid away in a small Michigan suburb where Sandra wrote him poetry, and Eddie answered with melodies he hummed into the dark. She gave him a leather songwriting notebook. He carried it in his tour bag like a secret vow. In 1970, a bandmate spotted them at a bar. Tension spread fast. Everyone feared one exposed romance could shatter years of hard-earned fame. When Eddie left the group in 1971 to go solo, the pressure only grew. 6 months later, arguments over an uncertain future tore them apart. What remained were memories, and an ache Sandra never fully shook. Years later, fragments of their hidden story surfaced through Otis Williams and Patricia Romanowski's biography, confirmed in quiet whispers from old friends. Otis Redding, a voice that set the 60s on fire, a love that burned in secret. Long before tragedy sealed his legend, the King of Soul was living a romance few ever knew. In 1963, at a show in Mon, Georgia, photographer Lena Harper was hired to capture Otis on stage. The moment her lens found him, something electric sparked. Otis was captivated by the way she caught the raw heat of his performances. Lena fell for the depth in his voice, the ache, the thunder, the truth. What followed was a hidden love affair stretching from Atlanta studios to lonely motels along Memphis and Nashville tour stops. They moved carefully. Otis was married to Zelma Atwood, and scandal could shatter the image he was building across racial lines in a divided America. Lena risked her career and reputation. Still, their connection burned, quiet, intense. Meeting in a modest Riverside, Georgia home where Otis spoke of his hard childhood, while Lena photographed him in the hush of dusk. In 1965, Zelma's friends spotted them at an Atlanta diner. Suspicion grew. Letters were passed through trusted friends. Meetings shifted to distant cities. Otis' relentless touring fed exhaustion and arguments, especially when Lena begged him to slow down. Then, in 1967, everything ended in a single, horrific plane crash. Otis was gone. Lena was left with unpublished photographs and a grief she carried in silence. Those closest to Otis, including author Jonathan Gould and fellow musicians, later spoke of the loss. But Lena held the untold pieces of his final, hidden love story. David Ruffin, the unmistakable voice of the Temptations, was more than an R&B legend. He was a symbol of soul at its peak. At the height of his fame, he fell into a complicated romance with Carla Evans, a formidable Detroit club manager. They met in 1966 at the 20 Grand Club, where David commanded the stage and Carla ran the room. Their connection was instant, electric. Drawn to her confidence and love for R&B, David pursued her beyond the spotlight. After shows, they slipped away to private apartments and hotel rooms during tours through Chicago and Cleveland, their affair fueled by passion and secrecy. But David's life was anything but simple. Entangled in other relationships and fatherhood, he couldn't offer Carla the openness she deserved. Going public threatened the Temptations' polished image, while Carla feared scandal could damage her hard-earned influence in Detroit's nightlife scene. By 1968, fractures deepened as David's struggle with drugs intensified. Carla urged him to seek help. He refused. The arguments grew fierce, slowly unraveling what once felt unbreakable. When David left the Temptations in 1974 to pursue a solo career, their love had already faded, leaving Carla with lasting scars. Details of their stormy affair later surfaced after his death, notably in The Temptations, 1988, by Otis Williams and Patricia Romanowski, and in Ebony Magazine's August 1992 Reflections on the Music Industry. Barry White, the velvet-voiced maestro of R&B who made the world believe in love. Behind the platinum records and sold-out arenas, he guarded a secret. In 1972, in Los Angeles, a young poet named Denise Walker approached him at a music event, clutching a bundle of love poems. She was a fan. She left as his muse. Their chemistry, artistic, electric, undeniable, sparked instantly. For 5 years, they lived a hidden romance. They met in the shadows of Barry's studio, in a modest San Francisco apartment between tour stops. It had to stay that way. Barry was married to Glodian James, his love maestro image untouchable. Denise feared scandal could silence her rising voice in poetry. Her words found their way into his music. Some of his most iconic love songs carried echoes of her verses. They would escape to a secluded Malibu villa, writing and whispering beneath the moonlit tide, turning passion into melody. But by 1977, relentless tours and family obligations pulled him back to reality. What burned so brightly faded just as quietly. The world wouldn't learn of their secret until Love Unlimited in 1999. Donny Hathaway, a tear-soaked romance behind the music. The R&B and soul legend behind A Song for You was worshipped for his aching voice and velvet piano touch. But few knew he carried a nearly 8-year secret love affair with Miriam Cole, a Chicago music teacher. They met at a 1971 music workshop. What began as shared melodies turned into stolen nights. In her modest St. Louis home, in quiet New York hotel rooms while he toured. They kept it hidden. Donny was married to Alala, and his fragile, soulful image could shatter. Miriam feared the judgment of her conservative family and the school where she taught. When they were alone, Donny would sit at the piano, letting tender R&B confessions spill into the room, singing straight to her heart. But by 1975, his battle with schizophrenia darkened everything. Miriam tried to save him, and their love, but some wounds ran too deep. Their story ended in tears with Donny's tragic death in 1979, leaving Miriam with a love that never truly faded. The truth surfaced years later in Donny Hathaway Live, 2016, and the documentary Mr. Soul, 2020. Billy Preston, the keyboard genius behind hits for the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, was a rare force. A black artist who conquered both R&B and global rock. With Will It Go Round in Circles and his explosive stage presence, he didn't just perform, he electrified. But from 1969 to 1975, Billy carried a secret that could have shattered everything. He was in love with Andre Wallace, a gospel singer he met in a Los Angeles church. Raised in strict gospel traditions, they bonded over faith and music. That bond turned to passion after their first show together, sparking a hidden romance played out in quiet motel rooms between tour stops. They even co-wrote a song, Harmony of Us, never released, shared only with trusted friends. In 1972, a choir member threatened to expose them. Terrified of losing his career, Billy pulled away. Andre pleaded, but love couldn't outrun fear. By 1975, they parted without a word, leaving behind a love story revealed years later by friends in a Rolling Stone interview and Mark Shapiro's That's the Way God Planned It. Arthur Conley. Before he became a sweet soul sensation, before the charts and the screaming crowds, Arthur Conley was Otis Redding's brightest protege, a 60s R&B powerhouse with a blazing voice and undeniable stage presence. Under the spotlight, he soared. But behind the music, he carried a secret that could have destroyed everything. In 1969, at a show in Atlanta, Arthur met Julian Rhee, the club's lead dancer. One meeting turned into many. Soon, they were inseparable. Their love unfolded in secret, through rain-soaked Miami nights and quiet Florida beach mornings. In the conservative world of R&B, same-sex love was unforgivable. Exposure meant exile. In 1972, a stagehand nearly uncovered the truth. After that, they lived like shadows, passing notes through bartenders, traveling separately, surviving on stolen moments and train tickets. Then, in 1974, Arthur vanished. He fled to the Netherlands without a word, disappearing from American music and from Julian's life. Julian waited, heartbroken and unanswered, his name surviving only in whispers and later mentions in Otis Redding. An Unfinished Life, and a 2004 issue of Jet magazine. Minnie Riperton, the woman whose sky-high voice turned Lovin' You into a timeless hymn of sweetness and grace. She shimmered in the spotlight, radiant, untouchable. But behind that angelic image lived a secret that burned for nearly a decade. In 1970, inside a Chicago studio, she met Calvin Brooks, an unknown songwriter with quiet genius. What sparked between them was instant, reckless, unstoppable, like fire finding gasoline. Late-night sessions blurred into hidden flights to Los Angeles and New York, into hotel rooms with no names and no past. Minnie disappeared whenever she could, despite a husband, despite children. She couldn't walk away. Calvin feared the fallout. The industry would have crushed them if the truth surfaced. So they loved in the shadows. Then, in 1976, breast cancer changed everything. As her world dimmed, Calvin stayed, unseen, unwavering. But illness has a way of exposing cracks. The future became a battlefield neither of them could win. In 1979, Minnie was gone. And just like that, Calvin vanished from music. The depth of his love stayed buried, until the truth surfaced years later in Perfect Angel. The life of Minnie Riperton and Minnie Riperton. Loving You and Beyond. A voice the world adored. A love it was never meant to know. Rick James. Rick James. A 7-year secret romance burning inside a storm of sex, drugs, and superstardom. The R&B and funk king set the world on fire with Super Freak and his untamed swagger. Pure sensuality, raw voltage, no limits. While headlines chased scandals, Rick was quietly bound to Vanessa Cole, the choreographer shaping his most electric performances. They met in a 1978 Los Angeles rehearsal, music and movement locking them together instantly. From Miami hotel suites to the privacy of Vanessa's apartment, they loved in the shadows. But Rick's chaos was relentless. Vanessa tried to pull him from addiction. He pushed back harder. Passion turned to fights. Fame tightened its grip. In 1986, Rick chose the spotlight over love, cutting her loose. Vanessa lost both her heart and her career. Their story stayed buried until Glow, the autobiography of Rick James, finally brought it to light. Phyllis Hyman, a powerhouse of soul whose voice set 70s and 80s R&B on fire, an irreplaceable icon of black music. But behind the glamour, she carried a secret. For 8 years, Phyllis shared a hidden same-sex romance with Lorraine West, a gifted stage producer. They met in 1977 at a New York show, an instant spark born from shared pressure and late-night rehearsals. They stole quiet moments backstage and in a small suburban apartment, building a love the era refused to accept. Rumors, threats, and industry interference forced them into silence. As fame grew, so did the weight. Phyllis slipped into depression and alcohol, pushing away help. Lorraine fought to save her, but love wasn't enough. By 1985, Phyllis chose the stage and spiraled deeper into addiction, leaving Lorraine with a wound that never healed. Years later, friends and colleagues revealed their story in Phyllis Hyman, Living All Alone, and Jason A. Michael's Strength of a Woman. Teddy Pendergrass, R&B's smoldering king, set stages ablaze and sent millions of women into a frenzy during soul and funk's golden age. But behind the spotlight lived a secret. An 8-year romance with Alicia Monroe, a devoted fan and black nurse who loved him long before the world knew her name. In 1975, after a Philadelphia show, Alicia slipped backstage, heart pounding, just to meet her idol. Days later, she was cooking dinner for him at her apartment. When tours took him through Baltimore or Atlanta, they reunited in quiet hotel rooms, hidden from flashing cameras and gossip columns. Teddy was magnetic, intoxicating, yet guarded. He feared losing his ladies' man mystique. Alicia protected the secret just as fiercely. They never went public. Then, in 1982, a devastating car crash left Teddy paralyzed. While headlines blazed, Alicia stood at his bedside as both nurse and lover, caring for him under the weight of family scrutiny and unbearable pressure. The strain tightened around them. By 1983, Teddy disappeared from her life. Their hidden love story endures in If You Don't Know Me by M.J. Moore. Luther Vandross. Luther Vandross. A secret romance hidden in the shadows of fame. The R&B legend whose voice melted millions ruled the 80s and 90s with timeless hits and shelves of awards. But behind the spotlight, a different story unfolded. A 5-year love affair with Darius Moore, the gifted stylist who crafted his tour wardrobe. They met in 1983 at a fitting in New York. What started as collaboration turned into a whirlwind of art, passion, and quiet devotion. In a discreet Harlem apartment, they found rare peace. A private world untouched by pressure, expectation, and the weight of public scrutiny. By 1988, ambition and fragile health pulled Luther back into the glare of his career. The relationship unraveled. Darius accepted a financial settlement to launch his own studio, and they never saw each other again. Years later, his name resurfaced in Craig Seymour's Luther, The Life and Longing of Luther Vandross, and in interviews with Rare Friend. A reminder that even the smoothest voice carried untold longing behind the music. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston. A same-sex love story hidden behind diva glory. The R&B and pop queen was a global icon. Chart-topping hits, sold-out arenas, a voice that shook the world. But behind the spotlight lived a quiet heartbreak that began in the 1980s. As a teenager, Whitney fell in love with Robin Crawford, her best friend, her confidant, her creative partner. They met at a summer camp in New Jersey, where friendship slowly deepened into something undeniable. But fame came fast, and so did pressure. Public scrutiny, family expectations, her mother's disapproval, and later her marriage to Bobby Brown forced their love into the shadows. In 1987, it ended when Whitney's mother demanded Robin leave. Their truth remained buried for decades, until Robin's memoir and the 2018 Whitney documentary finally brought their hidden love into the light. Gerald Levert, the electrifying voice of R&B, a seductive icon whose hits pulsed through America. But behind the spotlight, he guarded a secret, an almost decade-long love affair few ever knew about, later uncovered by close industry friends and his official biography. It started in 1990 at a Cleveland show. That's where Gerald met Tasha Bryant, a sharp, driven tour manager running his schedule with precision. What began as late-night conversations about music turned into something undeniable. Passion grew in the quiet hours after the crowds faded. But fame has a cost. Exhaustion, family strain, and mounting career pressure sparked constant clashes. By 1998, as Gerald poured himself into Levert and his rising success, the relationship quietly unraveled, leaving Tasha with heartbreak and a love story the world almost never heard. Lisa Lopez. Lisa Left Eye Lopez, TLC's fiery, fearless voice, was a hip-hop legend behind history-making hits. But beyond the spotlight lived a quiet, complicated romance with video producer Kendra Miles, the creative force behind some of TLC's most iconic visuals. Their story began in 1994 on the Atlanta set of Creep, where artistic chemistry ignited something deeper. Passion turned personal. Yet as Lisa's turbulent relationship with Andre Rison spiraled, jealousy and tension strained what they had built. By 2000, with Lisa fully focused on her solo path, their love faded. Not in scandal, but in silence. Aaliyah. At the height of R. Kelly's fame, she was known as his protege, his princess. With a voice as smooth as silk, Aaliyah rose fast, conquering the charts and the world. But behind the spotlight, her first mentor became something far more complicated. As detailed in Christopher John Farley's 2019 biography Aaliyah, More Than a Woman and later accounts surrounding surviving R. Kelly, their story began in 1993 inside a Chicago studio. She was just 14, recording her debut album under his guidance. What started as mentorship quietly crossed a line. In 1994, at only 15, Aaliyah secretly married R. Kelly. When her family discovered the truth, the marriage was annulled under intense pressure, ending it before it could fully begin. With everything we now know about R. Kelly's later actions, many believe her family's intervention changed the course of her life. Because in R. Kelly's world, love was never simple. Only secrets, shadows, and truths buried deep. If the story surprised you, drop a comment and tell me which part hit you hardest. Like, subscribe, and tap the bell for more untold stories from the world of celebrities.